You are listening to Parenting Our Future with certified parent coach Robin McMahon, author of The Yelling Cure and founder of Parenting for Connection. My podcast is all about providing you with the tools and solutions you need in your parenting so you can create the family you always wanted. For more information on my book and other resources, check out yellingcurebook.com. Hey everybody, welcome back to Parenting Our Future. It's Robin McMahon here, and I have a really special guest today. Her name is Sharon Pope, and Sharon Pope is a certified master life coach, a 7-time #1 international best-selling author. She specializes in love and relationships. And what she does is she helps women get the confidence and clarity they need to know whether they can fix their struggling marriages or move forward without regret. She has been published in dozens of online publications, including the New York Times column called Modern Love. Sharon, I am so honored to have you here. Welcome.
It's great to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Robin. I'm excited.
Oh, this is so great to have you here. And the reason you're here is because we are talking about what it's like to navigate quarantine when your marriage is struggling, right?
Yes. Because if you were struggling in your marriage before, now it just got much more serious because of all the extra pressure and stress that's been placed upon every single one of us in various ways.
You know, I have what I consider to be a really good, healthy relationship with my husband. I really love him. He is my best friend, but he's annoying me a little bit. We have offices across the hall from each other. So I just look across and there he is. It turns out he's the world's loudest talker. And I love him, but I get a little annoyed with him. And so if I have a good relationship and I'm a little annoyed, oh my goodness, like that is serious if you are really struggling. Like it's no joke, right?
You're not as patient. You're a little bit quicker to snap. You're certainly not present, and it's almost like right now with the added stress, it's like in a way we give ourselves a little bit of permission to take it out on people. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, the people we take it out on first tends to be those that we can, and it ends up being our spouse more often than not. Mm-hmm. It's not intentional. It's not conscious. It's not like, oh, I'm upset about this. Let me take it out on him. It's just sort of like look, I'm not feeling good. Some version of not good. Like I'm anxious. I'm stressed. I'm worried. I'm fearful. I'm whatever. I don't feel good. And I really want you or someone to make me feel better. Darn it.
Yeah. As I shake you from your shoulders, make me feel better.
Right. And you're not, because you're talking too loud or you're breathing.
Yeah. How dare you breathe so loudly and chew in my ear?
Or if you're my husband, because I also have a good relationship with my husband, but I tease it because I tell him he'll be late to his own funeral. He is late to every single thing. He just goes very, very slowly, where I am about the opposite of that.
Yeah. So that's a really good point, though. I mean, I definitely see that we give ourselves permission to take it out on those who we love the most, like our spouse. And I think, too, our children, probably spouse first, then kids, right? But we do it and we're only human. But what I heard you just say is you just said, it's because I'm stressed. It's because I'm worried. It's because. And actually, with the work that I do, what I love to tell parents to do, and I do myself, is I literally walk around and name the feelings that I'm feeling instead of just yelling at somebody and blurting out. I say, I am feeling really anxious right now, and this is making me really anxious, and I feel like I might lose it and yell. So I just need you to know that I'm anxious and I'm angry and I'm frustrated. It's not about you. It's about the situation. And so I may not sound as nice as I normally do, but that's why.
Yeah. But see, I think it sounds small, like you just walking around saying that, but more for you than for them. It's more like the fact that you are expressing that, and in doing so, you're saying it's not the people around me. It's not even me. It is the circumstance that I am facing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what's going on inside of me. It's not necessarily like, hey, everyone else be on guard. But that is
Right.
helpful to know, like, oh, she's just dealing with something right now. I need to give her some space.
Yeah. Well, I had to use it when I was teaching my son, when I was helping him with his work. He's in grade 9. So, you know, the work is hard and hard for me to remember that stuff, right? It's science, it's molecules and all.
Thank God I don't have children. It would be so screwed.
Right? Yeah. So here we are. And he just was refusing. I actually took a picture of him just like completely opting out. And I was starting to feel the anger and anxiousness rise up in me. And I just had to tell him, look, I'm really anxious right now. I'm really anxious and I'm worried and in all the things. Right. And so he's like, oh, okay. Okay. Now I know. Right.
You know what else you can do for yourself in that moment? You can go, what am I making this mean?
Yeah.
My son isn't wanting to do these things. I'm making it mean that I'm a bad parent, or I'm making it mean that I'm a failure, or whatever it is. Just stopping and going, what am I making this mean?
Yes. Oh my gosh. And so your relationship too would be the same, like, you know. Yes. And so in fact, last week in my podcast last week was all about the words that you use to describe the situation. And look, I need to be accountable for the words I use too. And I need to take a minute, because it would be easy to say this is a total disaster. My kid is going to fail and have to repeat grade 9. Mm-hmm. But what does that do for me? It doesn't help me. It makes me more anxious.
No.
Right? So
fear and worry is 100% in the future. And we have no way. Like, did we predict this? Mm-mm. How would we have predicted this? So to worry about what could happen, I call it like praying for what you don't want.
Yeah. And it takes you out of this moment too, because tomorrow isn't, as we can very clearly see, tomorrow isn't promised to us. So let's not worry about the future and that you think this homework right now is going to equal your child being in jail or a drug addict later on in life, right? That's what we do. But let's get back to the relationship, because that's really what you're all about. And I know people need to hear these messages. So what is one of the ways that couples are getting really tied up in their marriage, struggling? Like what are couples struggling with right now?
So when our partners get on our nerves, let's say it like that.
Yeah, that's nice.
We have some thought, you know, and it varies, right? Like you and I might have the struggle of they're late or they're a loud talker or whatever. Someone else might be like, he's disrespectful to me, or he gets angry and yells. So there's a continuum of problems, right?
Yeah.
But here's what I would tell you. So the tool that I use when people are really struggling and we're getting on each other's nerves, the problem is that we have some underlying thought that it should be different than it actually is. Okay. And so that's where you have to question that thought and say, wait a minute, my thinking that this should be different, like that my husband is here to meet my needs. Actually, no, he's not. Mm-hmm. I keep waiting. I try to make light of this stuff because it's kind of hard. It's a difficult pill to swallow. Mm-hmm. But I keep looking for like the 28 minions that are here to serve me, like Sharon, do you need some coffee? Would you like some tea? Would you like some more water? Can I rub your feet? I keep waiting for all those people to show up. No one is showing up.
Oh yeah, it's true. Me too.
No one is here with like their soul came into this planet at this time in this life to meet Sharon Pope's needs. Yeah. Not even my husband. Right. Like when we walked down the aisle, we should have walked down with this big old book that said, here's all of my expectations for you. Congratulations. You are now the portal through which all of my needs get met. Mm-hmm. You signing up for that? Say I do? So we put a lot on our marriages. I need you to be my best friend and my greatest lover. Mm-hmm. I need you to feel like home and security and stability. And I also need some degree of interest and adventure and growth in there. Like we put so much on our marriages that I think in many ways we set them up for failure. So that's at a like kind of a more macro level, but like in the day-to-day annoyances, what I would tell you is think about it like a lens. I call it the lens. So imagine you're wearing a pair of glasses, and embedded in the lens of those glasses is the totality of your life experience. So all this stuff, your thoughts and beliefs of how things should be, your values as a human being or as a family, your own insecurities, your, like what we were talking about, your baggage that you bring into the relationship.
Yeah.
All of that is embedded in the lens. And so when you look out into the world, it gets interpreted through that lens. And then what you experience goes through that lens both ways, right? So no two people on the planet have the same lens. No one.
That's right.
Right.
And that lens is adjusted and changes based on your own experiences, right? Based on what you've done, what's been done to you, your childhood, your past relationships are all making up that lens.
That's right. And so when we get angry or irritated or frustrated, it's because we're wanting other people to see it through our lens, and they can't. And so I just, like, when you start to hold, I call it like holding things lightly. Like it's just a thought. Like we could take, you're in Canada, so I can talk about this. But we can take the most polarizing person on the planet right now, which would be Donald Trump. Right? Same person, same situation. But people see it very, very differently.
Yes, they
through
do.
very different lenses. And someone could battle all day long that their perspective is right. But that is a judgment. And if I have to be right, then I automatically have to make you wrong. And it's the same way in our marriages. Like if you're thinking, like if I'm thinking my husband should be more on top of things, he shouldn't be late, he should plan better, he should organize his day so that he is on time for things. I can have all those thoughts, judgments of him, but it's just a perspective going through my lens. It's not real. It's just a thought that I have.
Yeah. And I think that but what I think too is that is also assuming that your lens is the lens, and it's not the lens. Everybody has their own. Yes.
It's just yours. And your child has a lens, your husband has a lens, your mother-in-law has a lens.
Oh, does she ever? No, I'm just kidding. Oh my gosh. So I think that is really powerful. And you use the word should a lot. And I think, boy, we should all over our kids. We should all over our husbands, our wives, for dads listening, for, our partners, our spouses. We should all over them. And what that does is there is a cost to that. And what is that cost? Is it less closeness, less understanding, less empathy for the other person? Because when you label something, it takes you out of empathy and compassion and also curiosity, because now that person is the label.
Yes, that's so good. That is the word. The curious word is so important. Thank you for saying that, because now I'm no longer listening to my partner to understand their perspective or where they're coming from or what they care about. Now I'm listening to prove him wrong, or to debate him, or to tell him why that perspective isn't right and my perspective is. And we lose that. And the cost is the connection. For sure.
And boy, do we feel like not feeling connected doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good at all. We're wired for connection. We are connection. That's what we're all about. And that's so interesting. And, so I have asked my husband, right? So, he is a loud talker. He kind of will take a little thing and make it really long. And so sometimes I don't listen to him, and it's only because I've got a million other things on my mind. So what I've asked him to do is I've said, listen, if you really want me to hear you, can I ask you to please get my attention? And sometimes he puts his hands on my shoulders and he's like, babe. And then he, and I do this. I tell parents to do that too. You've got
Yeah.
to connect before you make the request, right?
Yes.
And so because I have that deficiency of my own self, because I'm so much in my head, I do need him to do that, and he's willing to do that, and it's great when he does, and I'm like, oh, that's nice. Yes, I hear you.
But you know what? It's yes, he's doing it for you, but he's also doing it for him because now he's getting his needs met. My wife
Right,
is
true.
listening to something that is important to me, right? So he has stake in the game because we all are
Yeah,
just trying to get our needs met. Your husband is the same. And so
yeah.
if you can, what you did is you beautifully left him breadcrumbs. Like, here's how you can get the best of me. When you want to be heard, I need you
Hmm.
to do this. And he's like, great, no problem, because now I win and you win.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, that's
that's
really
awesome.
good. Yeah.
Good for you.
Now, okay. So you talked about that this should be different. And oh boy, does that ever leave us feeling anxiety, angst, because that means that you are not at peace with what is right now. And there is at this certain moment when we are in quarantine and we're in lockdown or we're in isolation, it's not easy, but we do have to come from a place of accepting what is and surrendering to what is, right? And then if we're not, then we have these thoughts in our heads, like, and we can catastrophize a situation. And I don't want to for 1 minute deny the fact that people are dying, people are sick, and
Yeah.
it is very real for so many people. For the vast majority of us, we are okay. Right now, we are okay, and we are doing our part by staying home and staying healthy. And so it's those people that I really want to talk to. And when you catastrophize a situation and say, this is a living nightmare, this is hell on earth, I am trapped at home, your words make a difference. They really matter, right?
Yes.
And those are the things that will stop us from the connection, right? And stop us from seeing things in a different way.
Yes. The word that I hear a lot right now is I'm stuck. So
Yeah.
whereas before, so again, I work with women who are struggling in their marriages and have been for a long time. And they're like, is there any way to make this feel good again? Or is the only answer to leave? So they're very much in this stay or go sort of mentality. And
Yeah.
now they're stuck. Now they feel like they don't have any choice and they don't have any freedom. And that is not true. You're
Okay.
like, if you're going to stay, you have absolute freedom to dive in, get some tools so that you can begin applying them and you can really create a shift inside the relationship. I had a client who she made the very painful decision after 35 years with her husband, the only man she'd ever known. She decided that she was going to leave that relationship. But she said, you know what, Sharon, now I'm stuck. Had I done it a month ago, would have been fine. She wasn't ready a month ago. She's ready now. And so I challenged her on that. And I was like, look, there's a lot of things that have to happen. What is something that you can do? And so, for instance, they had a piece of property that they were going to build a small house on, and that one of them was going to ultimately move into that house. I'm like, why can't you start dreaming about, like, what is that house going to look like? How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms?
Mm.
Who's going to build it? Can you start laying plans? She reached out to her attorney, and the attorney said, here's the paperwork I'm going to need, because they've had a business together too. So 35 years as a couple and then a profitable, successful business together. Here's the things you're going to have to pull together. So there are things that you can be doing during this time. But the thought, I'm stuck, that is a choice you're making about the circumstance. And the thing is, once
Yes.
you own that, and you're like, wait a minute, I'm choosing to remain stuck right now. I can take a step in any direction. I use this, one of my favorite quotes says, you're so free, you can choose bondage. Like, you're so free, you can choose to
Wow.
remain stuck.
Right.
But it's right up here between your ears. That's where stuck happens.
Yeah.
That's where tragedy happens,
That's
Yeah.
definitely really good food for thought. Really good to sort of ponder that and think about that. I think that's very true. Really like that.
We don't
So
even know what a year from now looks like either, right?
I
We don't.
know.
One of the analogies I use, I'm just like, you know what? You don't. If I was to drive, so I'm in Florida. If I was
Yeah.
to get in my car now and drive all the way up to see you, Robin, I would get there in like 2 days,
Hmm.
3 days, maybe. I don't know. depending on how
Yeah,
far we
we're
are.
on opposite sides of of North
Right.
America, but yeah, it's
It
a
would
few
be a week.
days.
So it would be
Yeah,
a week.
maybe,
Okay.
maybe, yeah.
So if I had to see, so what's the city that you live in?
Vancouver.
Vancouver?
Yeah.
Okay. If I had to see Vancouver before I ever left Florida,
Right.
I'd never leave Florida. I would never take a step in any direction. I wouldn't lean into my marriage. I wouldn't lean back from my marriage. I wouldn't do anything. I wouldn't even make it to the end of my block, right? If I had to see where I was going
Right.
before I
The
ever
length
got in
of
the
the trip.
car.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But what I can do, particularly at night, so imagine I'm driving a lot of times at night.
Mm-hmm.
The headlights on my car only allow me to see about 10 feet in front of me at any given time. And I go 10 feet and it lets me see another 10 feet and it lets me see another 10 feet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have to know what the end result looks like. We just have to know, like, what's 10 feet in front of us?
Wow,
If
I
I'm
like that.
struggling in my marriage, like what's 10 feet? I don't know where this is going to land. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what's going to happen in all these uncertain times and all this added stress and pressure. But what can I do right now? What's something that I can take one step? What is that step? And everyone
Yeah.
has an answer to that.
You are currently listening to the Parenting Our Future podcast. I'm parent coach Robin McMahon. And if you're enjoying this podcast, please share it with someone who you think might also need to hear this. Please don't forget to subscribe, and I would be grateful if you gave me a 5-star rating on iTunes. If you're a parent who's struggling and you feel like you might need some support to be the confident leader of your family, where you can calmly respond to any kind of behavior, disrespect, or your kids not listening to you, well, I have a membership group that you might be interested in. All you have to do is go to kamomsclub.com for more information. That's kamomsclub.com for more information. Now, back to the show. We are seeing increases in domestic violence here as well. Spousal abuse, child abuse as well. So it's really real. People are feeling the weight of it. And here's what I say to people is, if you're feeling that way now, what's it going to be like in another week, another 2 weeks, another 3 weeks, another 4 weeks? Because this could conceivably go on for another month or so. And do you want to continue to feel this way? Or do you want to use this time to find another way out? And I think what you're saying, or through, it's true. Yeah. Exactly. Thank you for saying that, because that's really what I'm talking about. And the thing is that what you can learn now isn't just for quarantine. It's for beyond this. The tools that you can use now can carry you through once this is all done too.
Right. The thing is, and you talk about this too, because it's just truth, is that we come into this with no training.
Yeah.
We don't, there was no class on how to create and sustain a loving, connected relationship with another human being over the course of decades. We just were like, hey, I love you. You seem like a good choice. Mm-hmm. Let's do this thing called life together. Mm-hmm. And then we start having babies, and then, like you say, there's no instruction manual for how to raise kids. Yeah. And so we need some support. We need some tools. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that, that we can't learn, if you didn't get that at birth, that's not in your DNA. Sorry, you'll never have blue eyes. Nope, it's not like that. Yeah. It's just tools and skills that you can learn to provide yourself some relief. And yes, there will always be times of, call it uncertainty and stress, right? Someone loses their job in the house, that causes stress on the house. Mom and dad start fighting all the time, that causes stress in the house. Mm-hmm. Someone dies. We have to move. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's stresses, this is a big one. Let's be clear, it's a biggie, right? Mm-hmm. But what you can learn during this time, and to your point, you're going to use it again and again and again.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just now.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, I do say it all the time. I say, like, you don't put up a shelf without instructions. What makes you think that you can have this beautiful human being and know exactly how to raise them with kindness and manners and emotionally intelligent unless you don't know, unless you really know how? And we need help and support to show us how, because the world is so different and challenging, and all we really have are the people who modeled this for us, which is our parents. And our parents are beautiful people. Most of us have parents that are beautiful, but they made mistakes too. And so if we really want to do better, then we need some help. We're not born knowing how to be a personal trainer, but we're happy to hire one, right?
Yep. Yep.
So how
It's
about
so
in the
funny.
areas that are the most important to you in your marriage and in your parenting, right?
Yes. And it's funny because I use some of the same language and tools that you would use with parenting, is that, some like children need attention to thrive. So does your
Yeah,
marriage to thrive.
to
Nothing
thrive. Yeah.
thrives when you just turn your back to it, never water it, never put any sunshine on it, never weed it. We'll just assume that that's going to thrive on its own. No, and it
Right.
doesn't. And so
Yeah, it's
a
true.
little
It needs,
attention.
yeah. Got to pay, whatever you pay attention to grows, good or bad, right?
So true.
So
How it works.
then what are okay, so we've got people who are feeling trapped, and I'm using air quotes for trapped.
Mhm.
And you say, okay, what is the next step forward? Look at the situation. You are not trapped. That is a label that you've put on the situation that doesn't serve you and holds you back from seeing what's really going on. What is your next step forward if you feel, okay, this marriage is no longer viable?
So
And
wait a
then
minute.
you,
Can
okay,
I
yes,
ask you, can I just do a little take in there?
yeah,
And then I really want you to ask your question, and I promise I will answer it.
okay, okay.
But this thought that saying I'm stuck, that thought doesn't serve me.
Hmm.
It actually does, and that's why we choose it.
Okay, tell me more.
And here's how.
Okay.
It doesn't require me to take any scary action.
Oh.
Right? If I can stay stuck right here, stuck in indecision, I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if I can stay. Well, now I don't have to take any steps towards my marriage, because what if that doesn't work? And what if that makes me feel like a failure? Or what if he rejects me? Or what if it fails and I tried my very best and it
Mm.
never worked? Now I'm going to feel horrible. So then I don't have to take any steps in that direction, and I don't have to take any steps through the door of unwinding that marriage either. I can just stay right here. And it's a mild level of discomfort that we come to know. It's like a whoopee blanket. We
Mm.
just we hold on to, but it's painful, but we learn to live with it. That's a
Well,
pain.
that's so interesting. Yeah. Okay. So you're totally right. And thank you for stopping me and correcting me, because I think it's important now. The funny thing is the way I look at it is the same, but different, because I say, well, if you're already uncomfortable, this is just a different uncomfortable that's going to get you to a better place. But I hear you. Like, yeah, just it
Yeah, but
is.
you and I are coaches. Like, we
Yeah,
know that.
I know. That's
We know
true.
that.
It's
Like,
true.
when you take action, you will learn something. You will get more information that will help you make a decision and move in some direction forward.
Mm.
Staying stuck, you learn nothing. Taking no steps, you learn nothing. And so you will remain here, sometimes for years or even decades.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's
Interesting.
funny, like, you're right. I wasn't correcting you. You're
Yeah,
absolutely right. It doesn't serve them. And it kind of does.
but it kind of does. Okay, no, I can hear you. So let's say you have a decent marriage and
Mhm.
things, because of everything happening financially, virus wise, kids working from home, schooling your kids at home, all of those things, and you're
Yeah.
starting to see some cracks. What can I do? What can the listeners do to start to help get things back to a loving, connected place?
So I think the easiest thing to do that you could do this evening, if you wanted to,
Mm.
is to create what I would call sacred space. And here's how
Mm.
I think about that. I know you can't see my hands, but there's you as an individual,
Mm-hmm.
there's your husband or your partner as an individual.
Mm-hmm.
And what you create together is a third entity that exists nowhere else on the planet.
Okay.
The only two people in that relationship are the two of you.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you start to view that as sacred space, the quantity doesn't matter. What you're doing doesn't matter. It can be just talking and remaining curious. It can be just asking some questions like, do you have any worries? Should we talk about those? When you're done, when this is all past and we're on the other side of it, what's the first thing you're going to do? Like, it can be hopeful too. But it's like, it can be 15 minutes of just connecting and asking your partner, how are you doing?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What's going on for you right now? I just, like, if it's wonderful, awesome. And if it's not, like, that's okay too. I want to know about all of it. But just like stopping and asking real questions, because we get so busy in just the like managing the household and keeping it all going.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's like whatever's left over at the end of the day, that's what we give our partners.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
And,
It's
and
very
we're
true.
exhausted. I don't know about you. Like, I'm exhausted at the end of these days because mentally and emotionally, it's just more taxing right now. And so there's nothing left. If you don't create some space for it, it's not going to magically happen.
And these are minutes, just minutes. Just a few minutes every day.
5 minutes before you go to bed, or first thing when you wake up in the morning, or you share a cup of coffee together. You each get out of bed 15 minutes early to have some space together and just connect before you move on with the craziness of your day. It can look any way you want it to look, but it's not going to magically happen. You got to make it happen.
Do you have a way for people who are listening to start this process? Like, is there a way that you would approach your spouse to say, like, can I have 15 minutes to just talk? And then do you have, so two-part question, how do you introduce this idea? And then second part would be, do you have ways to avoid any kind of danger zones? Like, and what I mean by that is, well, you keep doing this and you keep doing this. Like, we could get into accusatory kind of language, and maybe not mean to. So how do you talk and how do you start?
So to begin, you might just say something. So you don't want to have to go to your partner like every day and go, can I have 15 minutes? Can I have 15 minutes? Can I have it? But instead you just go and say, look, this is a really crazy time right now. And nothing is more important to me than this family right now. And us coming through this connected in some way, as a whole family. And so, I just think it's important for you and I to make space for us to remain connected. And so my proposal for that is, insert your proposal, is that we spend 15 minutes together in the mornings before we get busy with our days, before the kids are awake. That's important. Or after the kids are in bed at night. And just connect and talk and see how each other is doing. So that feels important to me, that we set aside some space. Can I get your agreement on that? Get the nod. I call it the nod. Get the nod. Get the other person on the other that you're communicating with. Get your partner to go, yeah, I think that's a good idea. Or so ask for, like, can we do that? Can we make that commitment to one another that we're going to do this? And if you can't do it every day, okay, fine. Sunday mornings, for Sunday at noon, from noon to 1, we tell the kids, let's say they're teenagers and not toddlers, okay?
Yes.
We tell the kids, like, it's on you guys for an hour. Mom and dad are going to be up in their room and don't disturb us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and it can be anything. You guys can be watching funny cat videos on YouTube, or you can be intimate. Like, you can do whatever you want to do, but there has to be some space for just the two of you.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. And then what about if you do want to address a difficult issue? That's kind of what I meant when, we can get into really easily blaming the other person and say, well, would you stop doing this? Or you're always doing this. Like, how would we, in this space of connection, bring something up that's upsetting us?
You never start there.
Okay.
I think what we've got to do right now is build some stability
Okay.
in the relationship, some trust between the two people. If
Okay.
you just, I call it the four dreaded words. Like
Four dreaded words.
when you start with, we need to talk,
Ugh.
like you might as well, like you just kicked your partner in the stomach. And by the way, they just put on their suit of armor and they are ready to defend their position. It doesn't even matter what comes out of your mouth. So it's completely unproductive. No one's going to get that solved. So I think, like for right now, there's so much to deal with. Can we just call it 5 or 15 minutes, like get curious about each other, check in, make sure the other is doing okay. Be more concerned right now about the other than about you. That is
Good
one of the things
advice.
we do not do well, even in difficult relationships. When we have hey, we need to talk. What we're essentially saying when we do that is, I have some things I want to say to you, and you need to listen and adjust your behavior accordingly. Yeah, no one wants to be on the receiving end of that. Instead, you could go into a difficult conversation. Like, let's say the topic is about the kids, and you have different perspectives on what you think should be done relative to something.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of going in and automatically just talking at your partner and telling them how you think it should be, what I propose is you come in and you say, okay, regarding this topic, the kids, I want to understand your perspective on this. Tell me, get them talking. Tell me your perspective on why you feel the way you do.
Mm-hmm.
Ask that, and here's what I'm going to tell you. And you're going to be like, why does he get to go first? Nope. You know what? For two things. One is, you're going to sit there and you're going to listen to understand, not listen to rebut, not listen to make him wrong. You're going to listen to understand. And number one, you're going to gain information from that conversation. You're going to now know what's really important to him. What are his hot buttons? Like you're getting information so that you're going to be able to craft how you express what you would like to see happen based upon what you just learned. He just told you the things that he really cared about. Like maybe you were really concerned with one element of this parenting, but he wasn't concerned with that at all. He was worried about this other thing. It would be easier if they're doing it. But you see what I'm saying? So so first of all, you get more information so that you can adjust or reframe how you're going to talk about your perspective when it comes to be your time. Mm-hmm. And secondly, you are modeling the exact behavior that you expect.
Boom.
Right? So you want him to listen, you got to be willing to do it first. I always say that. And everything you want, you be willing to do it first. You want someone to love and adore you? Who are you loving and adoring? You want someone to respect you? Are you being respectful to you and to him? Like, we got to be willing to do and model the behavior that we want to be pointed back at us. And
that is exactly right. I love it. And by the way, like I love talking to you because you and I speak the same language, and I want people to hear too that you can talk to your kids that way too, and say, hey, how are you feeling today? Like, let's check in with our kids, because our kids might be scared, worried, missing their friends, and we need to tune in and check with them too and see how they're doing. I've got one son who is really missing his friends and the normalcy of school, and the other one who's living his best life right now, not even worried a little bit that he's not in school. This is like heaven. So I think checking in with your kids is really important, and letting them know, yeah, boy, I do see this. And then how can we create some solutions, right? Which is exactly what you're saying too. And I love that. So you are saying, look, you have to do what you want to have done to you, for you, right? Yeah.
And you know what, when you say that, like, let's say we check in with our husbands, because it's different with kids. Like with kids, like you want to help support them and help them find answers and stuff. But when you're dealing adult to adult, let's say that your husband said, like, so I had someone tell me this week. She said, my husband is an ex-Marine. And she's like, he's not scared of anything.
Yeah.
But he looked at me the other day and he was terrified. And he's like, I am really frightened about what is going to happen in our world right now.
Yeah.
And she's like, once a soldier, always a soldier. So I thought he was just going to soldier through and get through. So when she checked in with him and he shared that with her, here's the thing. It doesn't mean you have to take responsibility for those feelings and do something with it. But what you can say is, darling, I am so sorry that you're feeling that way. It's completely understandable.
Mm-hmm.
How can I support you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, ask, how can I support you? How can I help you right now?
Yes.
They'll tell you.
Yeah.
But it's like sometimes we don't ask because we're like, I can't take on another damn thing right now. And you don't have to take it on. You don't have to take on other people's feelings and do something with it. You just have to see the other person. You just have to be present. That's all.
Yeah, I see that as really bearing witness to somebody else's pain. You know, like I can just be here to hold, energetically hold that space for you, and for you to say, yeah, I am struggling, I am scared, and for you to just say, oh, okay. Like, oh boy. But you are so right. Like people do think, now I got to deal with your problems, right?
So I'm not even going to ask because I can't take that on. You don't have to take it on.
But you don't have to. Well, that is really great. I love that. So as we move forward, you know, like we've already said, we don't know how long this is going to last. We don't even know if when it's over, it may not happen again, right? We don't know really what's going to happen. And like we already said, tomorrow is not a given. So one of the things that you have is a lot of resources for people who are going through this, and you have tons of free content, blogs at SharonPope.com. And of course, all of this information will be in the show notes. So SharonPope.com, and you've got videos on YouTube, and you have a book that's only $5.90. And you can find that at SharonPopeBook.com. So if you want help and you want to use this time to really look at how you can take different steps forward in your relationship, Sharon is your girl. Like she is the one who will help you. Not only that, does she has all of these free items as well, but she has a course called Navigating Quarantine When Your Marriage is Struggling. And I wonder if you can tell us just a little bit about that.
Yeah, so in that course, it's a 5-part video course. And in that course, I give you 5 very specific things that you can begin implementing in the time of this unease and increased stress, and to help you get through this so that you don't come through one storm only to then face the next storm, which might be a bitter, nasty divorce because the two of you, when you were locked up together, couldn't treat each other with kindness and compassion and behave like emotional adults, right? Yeah. We can do better than that. So that is really, I talk about the lens in there, but I also share some other tools, including intimacy in quarantine. That's an interesting one right now for my clients. So yeah.
Well, when the house is full, yeah, it may be hard. But but you know what I'm feeling from you is hope, and hope that it can be okay. And you're so right. Like if things aren't going well now, let's address it. Like you don't have to put your life on hold. Life is still happening. Yep. This is not a life on hold situation. If you need help in your relationship, if you need help with your kids, there is help out there. There is no need to put this on hold now and survive. We can thrive, right? We can make changes now that will get us to a new place where we can create the reality that feels good to us.
Yes. And don't you have some great tools for parents as well?
I do. I have a masterclass which is all about how it's called Quick Cures for Quarantine Kids. But
that's fantastic.
And the course that I have, it's a masterclass, and it is, it covers all of the different topics that are related to this quarantine, from how to keep the learning going at home, how to talk to your kids about the coronavirus, how to work from home if you've never worked from home before, because that's real, and how do you fit in work when you're at home with your kids and you also have to do school with them and that sort of thing. I also have a list literally of 101 things to do inside with your kids that you can use as a checklist. I know, don't we need all that? We need all the help we can get.
So practical.
Yes.
So
Yeah. And then also just how to set your mindset up, how to not lose yourself in this quarantine, how to take care of yourself, how to give yourself, like, how to go easy on yourself too, because I'll bet you, I know it, we're being really hard on ourselves, really judgmental. And one of the things that I think that people think is that they now have to do this quarantine perfect. We've got to do homeschool, online school perfect. And that's just a bunch of crap. We do not have to. We're doing the best we can, and that's good
And
enough.
there's no
It's good
medal at the end of
enough.
this, like, you
Hello.
have done it perfectly. Congratulations. There's no
Yes.
medal around our necks.
No,
The
no,
losing
don't
yourself in the
try.
midst of this is a big deal, I think, because
Yeah.
as women, we are taught from a very young age to be the nurturers. That comes very naturally for us. But what that means many times is taking care of everyone else and their needs and subjugating our own needs.
Mm-hmm. When in fact, it's our needs that matter the most, because we can't give what we don't have. And if we're not okay, nobody's okay. And we all have been there.
Happy? Nobody's
right?
happy.
Nobody's happy. Nobody. And we all know a time where we cannot do anything, and we are checked out, or we're, in a dark place, and everybody is like, we don't know what to do without mom. We don't know where to go. We set the tone for our family as women too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So thank you for taking this time to talk us through this. Thank you for the resources. All of this will be in the show notes. Please use Sharon's resources and check out her course as well, because you deserve to have happiness. You deserve to have joy. Even in a time where the world is upside down, joy is still possible.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much for inviting me into your world and allowing me to share my gifts. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to this edition of my podcast, Parenting Our Future. I'm parent coach Robin McMahon, and if you're enjoying this podcast, please share it with someone who you think might also need to hear this message. And don't forget to subscribe, and if you like my work, I would be grateful if you gave me a 5-star rating. For those of you who like my content and want more, visit me at yellingcurebook.com to get your copy of my book and to find other resources to help you. Until next time, I am wishing you and your family peace and connection.